The first Emperor's Children character has joined Tacticus, as Lucius, the champion of Slaanesh, becomes the 95th character overall to join the game. Today we'll see if this arrogant slaughterer is as good as he thinks he is. The first Emperor's Children character is joining Tacticus, as Lucius becomes the first member of a new Chaos faction to join our game in over a year. It's unbelievable we've had to wait so long for our ugly brethren to be graced with a new faction, and so let's hope he's worth it. So far, on first glance, as you've seen from my patch review video, he definitely looks like something a little bit extra special for us. And in lore, in the endless theatre of war, there are many who seek glory, but only one who turns the battlefield into a stage of obsession, agony, and perfection, and that's Lucius the Eternal. Once a proud captain of the Emperor's Children, Lucius was the embodiment of martial excellence. He was an artist of the blade, a duelist without peer, and a warrior who saw each battle not as a necessity but as a performance. During the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy, Lucius served under the Primarch Fulgrim, whose own descent into hedonism and excess mirrored the fall of his legion into damnation. Lucius revelled in the perfection of combat, but more than victory, he craved recognition, adoration, and witness. His arrogance grew as grotesquely as his skill, and he became addicted to the thrill of perfection, the pain of the strike, the beauty of the killing blow. And so, when his pride finally betrayed him, and a fellow traitor bested him in a duel, Lucius died. But not for long. Lucius bears a unique and horrific blessing from the Dark Prince of Chaos, Slaanesh. Any warrior who defeats Lucius and feels even a moment of pride in doing so is doomed. Their flesh twists, warps, and screams as Lucius is reborn from their body, his soul overriding theirs, leaving only his mocking voice behind. Death is not an end for Lucius, it's a door. He has died 1,000 times, and each time he returns, more grotesque and inhuman than before. His body is a patchwork of tortured faces and voices trapped beneath living, baroque armour of shrieking souls, which is fused with the tormented essence of those he's consumed, and their screams accompany every movement he makes. His blade of the lair is a weapon of exquisite cruelty, singing with warp-forged malice and always hungry for more. And so Lucius is a master duelist, whose lightning-fast strikes are as elegant as they are lethal. His skill with a blade is almost supernatural, fueled by his devotion to Slaanesh and his desire to prove his supremacy in every combat. He fights not for conquest, but for validation, for the ecstasy of pain, his or yours. As always in this series, we're going to take a look at 3 different things. How long it roughly takes him to level up to Diamond 3 when compared to other characters, his traits and general usefulness, and how good he is in legendary events. I'm not going to be looking too much into his usefulness in guild raids or tournaments, as I'm going to leave that to our other wonderful content creators. So let's dive right in. Lucius is unlocked in the next legendary event called Perfection Personified. This begins on August the 10th, and this is right in the middle of a 3-year celebration for Tacticus, which will be an incredibly busy time for us, I feel. The event is again an extremely challenging event, really for endgame characters, and it sees you playing through many battles to collect pledge points, which are then converted into twisted symbols, and once you've collected enough, you can use them to open exquisite chests, which have the Perfection Personified shards and other goodies within them. These shards can be used to unlock and level up Lucius. And as I mentioned, this is going to be an incredibly difficult event. So I've built my usual deep dive into the event in my Plan Now and Get Lucius for Free video. And you can click on the link above to take a look at that for later. And in the meantime, if you want to earn some free blackstone to help you on your way, you can use my Refer a Friend code in-game today to get 100 free blackstone. Just note that you can only use one person's Refer a Friend code, so make sure you make the most of it. Let's start by looking at roughly how long it takes characters to level from Stone 1 to Diamond 3. The reason I say roughly is because my sheets don't take into account all the extra ways you can get free energy, like in the tournament arena, items gifted to you from your guildmates or from the daily shop. It also doesn't take into account any hard to get items that haven't been added to a lot of places yet. But even with all that in mind, it's always interesting to see how they compare to other characters. So what about Lucius? Is this new Chaos champion going to be tough to level? Well, he's almost exactly the same as everybody else recently. He comes in 74th position, and it'll take 38 days overall to level up. It really feels like this whole year the characters have taken the same amount of time to level up. And if we take a look at the graph, we can see him over there on the right hand side. It takes Lucius 3 days to go from Stone 1 to Bronze 1, another 2 days from Bronze 1 to Silver 1, 5 days to Gold 1, 13 days to Diamond 1, and then 15 days to Diamond 3, which of course adds back up to the total 38 days. So let's move swiftly on to his skills. Lucius is an Imperial character. He has a Power 6 melee attack, which has a 40% pierce ratio, and he has no ranged attack. He has the new faction trait called Thrill Seekers, and it triggers whenever Lucius takes damage or targets an enemy with full health. Then Lucius becomes thrilled for 1 round. While thrilled, his crit chance is increased, and if he defeats an enemy, it is always overkilled. So that's a lovely counter to Incisus, as he won't be able to revive them. Alongside this, he has the parry trait, which reduces melee attacks by 1 hit to a minimum of 1 hit. And if you saw my recent video on boosting champions, we will know that the average hit from all champions in-game is 2,499, so that's a pretty good defensive skill. Next, we'll look at the character's melee damage, range damage, and defense. We do this by leveling the character up to be Winged Diamond 3 with level 30 skills and no weapons or equipment. This is just to equalize the playing field. Then, Castellan Creed, the character with the most average armor and traits in the game, becomes a punching bag for them to test their damage. And finally, Creed will punch them back to see their defensive skills. This is all then ranked against everyone else in the game, so let's see how they do today. Creed, are you ready for today's test? It's time for you to be back taking the hits again.
Oh good, a walking arts and crafts project with a god complex. Just what this war needed. Let me guess. If I kill you, I turn into you? Terrifying. The galaxy's barely handling me as it is. If I become you, then do I become invincible? Well, come on then, Slashy McWhalepants. Let's see if Slaanesh hands out refunds.
Lucius' melee attack does 2,988 damage, and he takes 1,724 damage from Creed. And so with that melee attack, Lucius comes in 35th position, which is mid-table in truth, and something I'm not personally surprised about, because this is around the place we have seen all characters that have great skills come in at. This is of course down to his power damage, which is such a low pierce ratio, but remember that this doesn't take into account his Thrill Seeker's trait, so often he'll be critting more than other characters. The other thing that is really interesting with him here is that he does have 6 hits, and that means he's prime candidate to be boosted by other characters and do a ridiculous amount of damage. So someone like Eldrion will boost every single hit that he does, and that'll really help him to make a mess of the enemy. In terms of defense, he comes in at 22nd place, and this is a very fair position for a melee champion. Obviously against Creed, he does better than he would against a ranged character because of his parry trait, but he's still in pretty good shape. He can get into the mix, throw a few punches, and survive long enough to hit the skills. And let's talk about his skills, because Armor of Shrieking Souls, I don't even know what category of skills to put this in. I guess damage? The reason is that when Lucius defeats an enemy, that enemy becomes elated. Then at the beginning of each of its turns, it loses health. When it's finally defeated, Lucius resurrects. And that's a pretty fun skill to have on your team. Should this be prioritized as a skill over others for new players? Not really, as it's a damage skill, but oh boy, it's an awesome one, and we'll definitely come back to this in detail later. His active is Lash of Torment, and this is also in the damage category of skills. This skill does a bunch of eviscerating damage to an enemy within 2 hexes, and that damage has a 50% pierce ratio. Then, if the enemy is not already adjacent to Lucius, it'll pull him next to Lucius and then taunt him for 2 turns. This isn't possible to do against Guildraid bosses, as they have the immune trait, but pretty much for everyone else it's going to be a really interesting skill to play around with. But should this be prioritized as a skill over others for new players? No, damage skills are only for later, after spawning and healing skills. So what do I think about their traits and skills? Well, there's so much for me to dive into here, because these 2 skills here are potentially game changers. Starting with his passive, the idea that you can essentially plant a virus inside someone by throwing Lucius super deep into the enemy, and then forcing the enemy to make a choice. Do they kill Lucius now, or do they allow him to run through your team hitting them all? If they take him down, you now have a choice as a player. Do you kill the member now and get Lucius back, or do you wait and let him become a bit of a virus bomb, just waiting for Lucius to pop out at the right moment? And even then, the choices are not done, because now the enemy has a choice. Do they try and sacrifice their infested player, or protect them, and maybe even heal them? It is an effect that the infested character has, so you can't cleanse him of this infestation, but you could keep him alive. It's really quite a game-changing skill. And it also means that in legendary events, he's going to be an excellent character to play with, because you will be able to use him as an off-tank, and then if he does die, and you manage to take down his killer, you're going to have him back to do even more damage again. For his active, I love the thought of having someone pulling other characters towards them. We've seen a little bit of displacement before with Parasite and Mortrex, but I feel he has to put himself more into harm's way than Lucius does, and it's going to be great to pull characters onto barbed wire or off high ground. I just think he's looking like another really fun character that's going to add so much to the game. And so how does he fit into the different modes? As I said, he's definitely going to fit into the legendary events really well, providing he can actually find a battle to play in, and we'll take a look more closely at that in a moment to see where he ranks. For guild raids, he has some potential in the multi-hit team alongside Ragnar and someone boosting him. In my last video, we saw Trajan being someone that everybody is eyeing up to be that multi-hit boosting character, but even if you have someone like Eldrion or Calgar leveled up already, that's going to add a fair amount of damage. I don't think he's one of the top characters, but he's definitely someone in consideration, and especially for new players who might be wanting to level up somebody for this team. Maybe they don't have Karn, and Lucius can be the replacement for Karn. For Guild Wars, he's going to be a right pain in the butt. If you kill him, he comes back. Or if he's in your team, you can just throw him against the AI defenders, die, and then keep having him respawn. Imagine having a team that can heal or tank through most damage, but doesn't have the damage to take enemies down. If they can just survive, then Lucius is going to kill everybody very slowly all by himself. And then for Tournament Arena, I definitely expect to see him in a few teams. Any character that is annoying as he will find a place. I can't wait to play him alongside the Gene Stealers cult team because it'll feel like you can never kill them. In terms of who he works well with, until we get the rest of their faction members into the game, it's really hard to say how they're going to all fit together. Of course, we can look at the tabletop version and try and guess how they're going to operate. And over there, we see them as ultimate shock troops. They're mobile, they're hard to pin down, they impact the opposition with their noise marines, and they mix melee and range pretty well. A bit of an all-rounder team. How that translates into Tacticus, we're going to need to see, but I'm definitely excited about this Chaos team. I don't like the slow fatness of the Death Guard, I don't like the inconsistency of the World Eaters as a faction as a whole, nor do I like the overall weakness of the Black Legion. And so only the 1,000 Suns have really interested me so far as a faction, but even then they have their weaknesses. It feels like the Emperor's Children have the potential to be my favourite Chaos faction that would fit my playstyle, but let's see. Outside of that, I mentioned it already, but you can put them into the most annoying team ever, together with Gene Stealers and Lucius. They really will be endless at that point. So as you can see, I'm really positively glowing about this champion, and overall, I'm really impressed with Snowprint's ability to start moving these excellent characters into the legendary events, because I really do feel that they are proper legendary characters recently, and this is another one that I expect to see in a lot of teams. And yes, I agree, the difficulty of those events has increased, but when the champions are this good, it really makes me want to try and get them. So definitely take some time and go and look at my video to make sure that you can get them opened up for free. It will take you some time, but you can definitely do it by the end of the third event, even if you're a brand new player now. And it's been interesting for me with the evolution of playing the game. I've always enjoyed it, but I never felt that there was a champion, except maybe Marnius Calgar, that was really starting to fit my style of play. Now I'm seeing more and more of them coming in. And what style of play is that? Well, it's to be as annoying as possible for my opponents. It's being allowed to be aggressive while not being completely punished for my own mistakes because there's a magic get out to jail free card. It's to feel like I'm cheating at the game while being incredibly bad at it overall. The Gene Stealers were the first faction that came in, and as soon as I saw them I thought, oh yeah, these are going to be awesome. But even my love of Castellan Creed has come from this playstyle, having Sergeant Kell pop out when he goes a little bit too deep, or being able to spawn in guardsmen that run in and save me from my own inadequacies has really suited me. And Lucian absolutely fits in this category. I can throw him into fights, watch him die, then laugh my butt off as he causes literal chaos in the enemy ranks as they decide how best to deal with him. Then I can just annoy them by moving them around to places they really do not want to be. So it's a big hedonistic 2 thumbs up from this creator. And next we'll have a look at the legendary events and see how well he does. We're going to start with the Patternmine event, and in the Alpha track, he only appears in the melee battle. In the Beta track, he appears in the Power, No Summons, and melee battles. And in the Gamma track, it's no chaos, and so he doesn't get to play. And so Lucius finishes off with a total score of 275, and that is just a tickle below the 278 average score for this event. So an okay start. Moving to the Dante event, in the Alpha track, he appears in the Power Damage battle. In the Beta track, chaos are not allowed, and so Lucius doesn't get to play. And then in the Gamma track, he only appears in the minimum 4 hits battle. And so he finishes with a score of 140, which is again below the average score of 195 for the Dante event. Moving to the Trajan event, in the Alpha track, Chaos are not allowed, and so Lucius doesn't get to play. In the Beta track, he appears in the Power Damage and No Physical Damage battles, and in the Gamma track, he appears in the No Bolter and Minimum 3 Hits battles. And this gives him a score of 265, which is above the average for this event. And then finally, looking at his own event, in the Alpha track, he appears in the Minimum 4 Hits and No Bolter Damage battles. In the Beta track, he's not allowed to play because it's no Chaos. And in the Gamma track, he only appears in the Minimum 5 Hits battles. And so in his own event, he scores 200 points, which is above the average score for this event, but obviously you're not going to be able to get him until you've gone through this event at least once. And so overall, as you can imagine with the scores, he finishes mid-table, coming in around 42nd place, and that means he shouldn't be a huge consideration for leveling for legendary events. Even more so is that he doesn't fit into any particularly difficult battles that you won't have other characters to have. Of course, as I did mention before, he's not going to be the worst to use in a battle because of his passive event, but definitely not someone you want to prioritize just for legendary events. But if you've leveled him up high for other things, he'll definitely fit into some of them. So what do you think of Lucius? Will this champion be someone you're constantly impregnating into the enemy team? Or are you going to leave him to become another shrieking soul back on your bench? Either way, you can check him out right now in the latest version of the Google Planner Sheets link below.